All right, man. I just saw Civil War, and this has got to be one of the best movies I've ever seen. Absolutely gripping. This movie literally had me shook a few times. I had a bunch of goosebumps looking at this movie, man. Like, it's just crazy. The whole thing back and forth. You know, I see people making TikToks and Instagram reels on, you know, I'll be on the winning side or we're on the winning side. Man, Americans haven't experienced war, man. Only things we witness is just Americans fighting, you know, guerrilla warfare against people overseas, you know, militias. But this is some serious shit, man. I saw this movie, I was absolutely shocked. Not only how good it is, but how, what's the word I'm looking for? How realistic it can be. You know, it just showed the darkest parts of humanity, you know, going from now to hundreds of thousands of years ago. You know, we seen zealots over their nation. There's a scene where this guy shot at a foreigner and was just shooting press. One of the members of the Western forces just shooting at, you know, innocent press and stuff like that. We've seen scenes of people being in the loop of war, but not really caring because they're so far away from the whole conflict. You know, I've seen scenes of, you know, what it look like what it would look like if different states invaded the capital, you know. And I'm not gonna tell y'all what happened at the very end because the very end is very, very shocking. But man, the woman, I forgot her name, that played on Spider-Man, Kirsten, I think. The guy that played Pablo Escobar. This is just a gripping movie, thorough and thoroughly. One of the best movies I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing. And like I was saying, people saying that they'll be ready for a civil war, man. No, you won't. You will not be ready for a civil war. You know, with a civil war, it comes with martial law. You know, state governments trampling over your law, over everything. Federal government trampling over everything. You know, the Constitution suspended. I mean, I was listening to one scene, you know, saying that the president had what's the word? The president disbanded the FBI, sent airstrikes on civilian populations. I seen a scene where a lady was holding an American flag and ran into a populated area where children, and that wasn't even the worst part. They showed a fucking live explosion of the people getting blown to pieces. So this is some real shit, man. And it's just A24, man. A24 outshines itself again. I remember seeing them a few years ago, and I was just thinking, hey, it was just a small studio, you know, nothing to it. But they shocked the world yet again with another groundbreaking movie. You know, they got another movie, Maxine, coming out. It's like the third in the trilogy of the horror films with the same actress. But man, this has to be one of the best movies I've seen in a while. It was shocking. It was gripping. Every shot counted. You know, it wasn't just spray and pray. You know, like when we seen Western forces fighting against federal American forces in this compound. You know, we got to see how merciless the Western forces were. You know, we got to see how depleted the federal government was because they surrendered. The generals gave up so they didn't have to get killed. We saw how the Western forces didn't care about the White House staff. They indiscriminately shot them and killed them. You know, we got to see, you know, dark sides of human conflict. You know, we got to see sacrifice too. That was a big part. Sacrifice of everything, you know. So if I was to give it a 10, if I was to give it a rating out of the 10 stars, this movie's a 10. Straight up and down, this movie is a 10. Bona fide, solidified, 10 out of 10. That is what cinema is about. That is what real life is about too. Because the Civil War ain't all easy. You know, it's not. No water, no food, riots, protests. Just a groundbreaking movie. Absolutely.